well, how much do we publicly admit that we're doing with it? And then we basically just have to interpolate our own behavior with our client's behavior. And if we suddenly do things that we used to do, or whatever, did in another way, have to think, why would our clients do anything else for merely like translation requests? It's like the minute somebody makes a CMS system and they decide to put a translate button into it that is connected to an LLM, of course, an untrained one, we get to that later. That's where I think I see massive opportunity for the industry. But the minute they have that, I don't know, would we push the button? Probably yes, especially if we're not in the industry. And so we have to be honest to ourselves and anticipate client behavior and offer things that are so convenient that we outperform these new offerings. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. That's just my honest opinion. It's not against the industry. I love the industry. But, just look at our own behavior, right? And, well, you can interpolate a lot from that. Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Charles, if connected to clients, if your clients, for some reason, see you in another industry and they stop calling tomorrow, would they be missing your insights, or they would just miss your availability?
Gosh, well, I'm going to flip back to something Andre said. He said, it's getting really difficult, or it's not easy. And my answer to that would be nobody said it was meant to be easy.
I know.
I don't, I'm not running a business because I'm looking for an easy job. And if I was a linguist who busted my butt to get a master's degree in French or Polish or whatever, I would have worked really hard to get where I was at. And I don't think we're in this because we want an easy ride. The question is that we're being forced to change at a speed that we're not accustomed to. But, the big news is that this is not unique to the translation industry. And there are other industries that have either gone through these changes or are going through these changes, or these changes have been forced on consumers with sometimes positive results and sometimes negative results. I hate checking in with the terminal at the airport instead of speaking to an employee. I don't mind doing it on my computer at home, but I hate those little kiosk terminals. It never seems to work. So, or like ordering, I don't go to McDonald's, but my kids go to McDonald's and they have to self-order. It's awful. You spend like 15 minutes tapping away at this dumb screen that doesn't work. It'd be so much quicker to deal with a human. So I don't think it's meant to be easy. I think it's meant to be challenging, and this is just a wave, an intense wave of change. But this wave of AI-driven change is coming simultaneously with other things. So specifically, the United States entered into a recession in this first quarter of 2025. There's talk of a trade war, or there is a trade war. There's also decisions to put the English language above all other languages for certain services in the United States. So you have, for people who are working oriented towards the United States, you have another set of problems that are also occurring in conjunction with AI. And then you might happen to live in a country like Argentina, where I do, where we have our own set of homegrown challenges. So I think, it's a pretty tricky combo for a lot of people to handle, and if this wave hits you, it's like any wave. A wave hits you and you're ready for the wave, you ride the wave, right? You enjoy it. if the wave hits you and you're not looking the right way, you're not prepared, you get a mouthful of water, or you half drown, or you get bashed and rolled over. So I think that's what it's about. Healthy businesses, or individual linguists, project managers, engineers, people working in the ecosystem who are, I don't know, ready for the change or prepared to embrace the change, maybe with a few tumbles and a few mouthfuls of seawater in the process, can do pretty well out of this. I mean, people who manage LLMs and design LLMs and QA stuff created by LLMs probably earn more than people doing translations. That's
Well,
just food
that
for
is
thought.
that is very interesting. And following that, there is a very popular saying in our industry that says that languages shape the way we see the world. If language is how we create reality, what happens when we outsource reality to machines? This is a question for both of you.
You
Yes,
got to take this one, Andre.
Yeah, it's, I have to take it back a little bit. I think there's still one little misunderstanding. When we talked about technological shifts in the past, let's say, I don't know, the horse was replaced by the diesel engine, or I don't know, we developed deterministic computer systems, meaning, running on simple Boolean values, yes or no, it's, the classic computer that we sit in front of, right? Those were machines, computer maybe not so much, but mostly they served a function. They made a thing better. And with AI, especially with specially trained models, we suddenly face a development that is so versatile that the underlying abilities, I think often outpace our own imagination what it can do. And you're absolutely right, and this is, I think, why we have to face the wave, because we have to do this and not this, because then we're gonna kicked off the ship. But I think this is what we really need to consider, that we've never in the history of mankind have invented such a universal machine. But at the same time, and then you can repeat your question, because I have ADHD and I already forgot about it, but I think it's important to say that at the beginning. The funny thing is that LLMs, or like these kind of systems, are programmed in a different way. They're trained, and they're trained linguistically. They're not trained with code. They're trained linguistically. And this is, I think, one of the big areas where our industry has a huge skill set where we fear that we're replaced. I think we'll find that we're actually one of the key players in this shift, as long as we understand what this is about. You talk to a neural network just like you talk to a human. You don't. It's very different. We need to stop thinking about it like a deterministic classic computer system, and that's why suddenly a linguist can kind of become what a coder is to a normal computer. And yeah, now I wanted to get that out of the way. And can you quickly repeat your question? And then again.
Yeah, I was saying that languages shape the way we see the world, and if language is how we create reality, what happens when we outsource that reality to the machines?
I think we share that reality with the machine. That's exactly the point. You explain the world to that machine. Somebody has to do that, and then it mirrors it back to us. It's like, it's not that we speak about two different realities. I think we're speaking about a kind of a coexistence. And I think this is inevitable, that we basically coexist with AI. We're going to be constantly, daily communicating with AI, and often not even noticing if we are talking to AI or not. So we're not outsourcing, we're sharing. And the difference is stark. But at the same time, when it comes to to the commercial application of AI, models need to be trained, output needs to be validated, verified. It needs to, errors have to be retrained, basically, recursively. And through reinforcement learning, somebody has to do that. And linguists and the skill set of our industry are actually uniquely qualified for this kind of job. So I would, since it's inevitable, I would embrace it. Absolutely.
Well, that is kind of controversial, because we need to think where this evolution is taking us, and if this is an evolution of the craft. Where do you think, Charles, we add value to this? Do you think that invisible value, that intangible things that you were speaking about, will survive?
Well, I was just thinking about what Andre said first, and this is not like steroids in sports where, people are competing in an unfair manner because they take steroids, and therefore you make steroids illegal, and then you level the playing field again for everyone, except for the occasional person who gets caught taking steroids. This is not like that. You can't make AI illegal. The cat is out of the bag. Pandora's box has been opened. But sometimes this technology is hyped. I remember when they cloned that sheep, Dolly, like 20 years ago, and suddenly all these movies came out where there was like intense use of genetic selection and cloning and the future of the human race and whatever. Great movies. Whatever, it didn't happen, hasn't happened yet. I haven't genetically engineered my children yet, so I don't know. I just think that maybe the technology is hyped and then it comes down to earth. About a year ago, there was lots of questions thrown out there that maybe companies wouldn't need as many coders as they did in the past, and that coding could be done by ChatGPT, and everything could just be magically done, just everything was to do itself. And we'd be like the people in that movie Wall-E, where they float around in space on reclining chairs, drinking huge sodas all day long, gaining weight and just being bored. I just don't see that us going down that track as a human race. I think there's so much need for creativity in all of this that the human in the loop, that the ability to be creative will be even more valuable than it is now. Because the thing about ChatGPT is I can stick in the question, and Andre can stick in the question, and you can stick in the question, Pablo, and we all get the same answer. And then what do? We go to whatever situation happens in life, or whatever product we're trying to sell, or whatever your university paper we're trying to write for the professor, and we all give exactly the same answer because we all got it from the same source, which is ChatGPT. So the originality may not be perceivable as a need for everybody, but I think it's going to be a huge differentiator for those of us who do continue to be creative people. Your brain is like a muscle. It's use it or lose it. So if you start every single email or message that you're going to write in life using Grammarly, then, when you're required to write without Grammarly, you're not going to know your grammar. That's how I see it. It's like when I was a kid, I'm 49. When I was a kid, we had to use calculators at school for mathematics, but we also knew the mathematics, right? And I still know what 14 times 14 is, or whatever 15 times 15 is. And it's not that I can't do that without a calculator. I do think if you are going to revert to using AI as your first port of call for everything, first of all, you're going to get the same result as everybody else. And secondly, you might lose that muscle that is your creative brain. I do agree with what Andre said, is that we are key players in this process. Let's not deny the technology. We don't need to be Luddites and break the machines. That would be unrealistic. Now, if the wave catches you unprepared, like let's say on a personal level, you're about to retire, or I don't know, you have a PhD in linguistics and you were in this because you absolutely love the language to the core. Maybe this change is not going to be for you, but I still think there's going to be a place for these people, as long as they don't get stuck in a negative rut of criticizing the technology. Now, for the rest of us, I think we're going to be key players to one degree or another. Please also note that our labor market is very tight. Very few unemployed people in developed countries, even in the United States, which is technically now in a recession. Unemployment is at 4.1%. So just as well we have AI, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get anything done. 4.1% is technically zero because there's a whole bunch of people who don't want to work or are incapable of working. Now, if this was coming at us in the context of 15% unemployment, then it would be a bigger worry, right? But I look at languages in general. In all English-speaking countries, the number of people studying languages is declining. If you go to a language university in an English-speaking country, the number of foreign students is predominant. But that's not happening in other countries of the world. That's not happening in Eastern Europe or in Latin America and Asia. People are studying languages more than ever before. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of swirling factors going on here. And I just think what Andre said, we are potentially key players in all of this. I think that is my number one takeaway so far.
It's just funny that when you work with AI a lot, you will find, and this is so counterintuitive. Creativity apparently is easier to create than precise results. And here's the funny part. It's like when you say like, oh, it will always produce the same results. That is not correct. And here's why. And this is weird. This is weird about the technology. Hold on to your seat. This is weird. So when you open a new OpenAI session, right, it is basically born with a random set of weights, right? It's the whole thing works with weights, right? It's a balance and the dance of the weights. And it's born with a randomized value of these weights. And you don't have access to those because the values are stored in some backend server at OpenAI, for instance, right? Local models are a bit different. You can do that. But you cannot basically, when you open a new chat, it's not a clone. It's very different. Every single one of them is very different. The weights are randomized and the temperature values are randomized. So it's like, when does my bias start to go into this? And this is something I learned in the last 6-7 months, where it's like, well, you can't just fire up another session, not with OpenAI, because you're gonna get something different. When you say the Dolly, the clone sheep, right? Well, we all know that interbreeding is bad, right? We've all been to that village, right? So, it's not good. But this is precisely what's not happening, for instance, with an OpenAI chat. Because all of them are born with randomized values within a certain threshold, okay, so that it works, but you can't zero them out because then the machine wouldn't start. So it's funny, we talk a lot about prompt engineering and blah, 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 thinking that we can force a session to the same output with a prompt. You'll find very quickly that they deviate, and that's one of the, if temperature equals 0, then predictive, the higher, the more creative. Exactly. And then they're randomized, so the more creative, more or less creative. And this is where our frustration always comes from, because we are used from normal computer systems that we put something in and the same comes out. This is not the case here. But what you can do is basically teach the model, basically give it a, basically teach a model right, and you do that linguistically, and then generate a big output payload, drop that into another one, and then have them check the results. And there's actually a little bit, quite a bit of work required to then sort of get the same results from the other model. And that is the fascinating part about AI. And I think we should all, if we all understand more about it, we see the huge opportunities for the business, but at the same time, we understand what is actually replaceable. And you'd be surprised that it's mostly the creative stuff. I've built a model that speaks exactly like me. I'm 100% sure that model writes an email to you and you have no way of knowing that it wasn't me. So I find AI absolutely fascinating, terribly fascinating. And that's why I decided for myself that I would have to build another business from scratch. If I was still you, Charles, I think I would take a different stance, right? But that I think is really the big opportunity here, is that we need to, they need people that talk to models and that convey meaning. And this is basically what we do at the core, is convey meaning, because that's and a large language model has no problem coding. Yeah, does it still make mistakes? Yes, but those will go away. But what it needs is meaning explained to it, because that's still something that comes from the outside. And I think that's one of the main things that people need to understand. You can't just fire up a new session and expect result X. That's not how it works, interestingly enough. But again, like I said, it's part of my present at the end, that explains why this is, I think, one of the biggest opportunities for the industry that was ever there, maybe. But at the same time, you need to see in order to jump, not to be hit by the wave the wrong way. But it's funny. It's like we like to say, oh, the creativity goes away. No, it's crazy how creative large language models are. It's crazy. I'm a creative person, I think, and I'm stunned every day. Go like, oh my God, I could not.
It seems to me, Andre, that this is a far more exciting moment for our industry than when I started in the industry in the early 1990s. I can remember translating birth certificates and driver's licenses and all this really sexy stuff. A 10-page project was a big project, and it was like we were eating the crumbs that fell off the table, man.
Translation memory. Oh my God, I've had this sentence before a week ago.
I was lucky enough to get into the industry by the time personal computers were well and truly in use. I didn't have to do the word processor or typewriter stuff. But I mean, if you look at the movie, rather than taking a photo of where we are at today, and you look at the movie, and the movie being an unended movie at this point, it just goes on and on. If I look back to an early point in the movie when I was translating driver's licenses, death certificates, and all this exciting stuff, and earning very little money, and feeling like my professional status was like very low, I think we've come a long way, and if we are going to be key players in the next stage of the evolution of AI, if language is going to be something that CEOs of big companies are finally talking about, and talking about a lot, then that is going to put us center stage. If we're going to be adopting and using this technology in ways that who would have ever thought before, and suddenly the linguistics is key, and companies that can harness it and monetize it as a product and a service will be key players. I think there's a far more scalable and exciting business model than, I don't know, people who have a business where people walk in the door and want to translate their driver's license, and you physically receive it and translate it and then give it back to them. And that's old school. That is replaceable. So I'm excited. I feel the anxiety in my stomach. And, I would have preferred the wave to come on a little slower so I could get better prepared. But, life gives you lemons and you make lemonade. Whinging is definitely not going to get us anywhere.
Here's the thing, is like the language industry is sitting on piles of training data that is invaluable. It's like, I don't know, create a product tomorrow that is called, I don't know, brand aware AI deployment, blah, blah, blah. And you use the existing terminology database with all the descriptions, as training data, not rigid as in knowledge graphs. Let's not, maybe we have to, anyway, not rigid, but as training data, and then be the people that assures that a large language model that is deployed in order to create content, to generate content, is adhering to the standards, and then have people test fringe cases, you know, design another model that is testing the other model and double checking, and it's beautiful. It's like I sometimes, you know, a part of me, my heart bleeds a little that I'm out of the industry now, because I find it incredibly fascinating. But you see, now I gotta ride this thing, you know.
So we are going to take questions from the audience in a few minutes. Speaking of that, we would like to know definitely about your first bike business. What can you share with us about that?
Okay. Okay. I have a house with a swimming pool and rooms where people can stay. They arrive in Faro at the airport. I pick them up in a bus. I get them here. We have 12 KTM bikes, 2 strokes, 4 strokes, 350, 450, 250. We have small bikes for small guys or the ladies. Genau. Yeah, and then you basically we have guides, professional guides. We have an ex-US race rider. You know, we won many titles. We have another hard enduro champion, or like, I don't know if he was actually champion. I don't know if he actually won, but he's amazing. And those guys, you know, we take you out 1, 2, 3 days riding, and to the beautiful mountains of Moshik, and to the beautiful landscape here. Big fire breaks hammering over the hills, and we have so much space here where we don't bother a lot of people, because there's basically nobody. Yeah, and then in the evening, nice food, nice breakfast in the morning, good gear, everything is well maintained. That bike is by now is clean. It's like Charles just asked me to put a picture there, and I couldn't find anything else. Yeah, and then in the evening, like banter at the pool with a beer or whatever drink you want. And
So
yeah,
do all of the attendees of this webinar, Andre, do they get a discount code that you're going to put in the
of course,
chat
yeah, we
box?
can figure something out. Yeah, and bring your own gas. It's like, you know? No, it's like, yeah, and the funny thing is, like, I'm already employing deploying a lot of AI to help. That's the funny part, you know. It's like with, I don't know, taking bookings in and training. Right now, I'm tinkering with a model to actually do parts ordering, and so I'm trying my best. And I'm also doing another little business where I'm gonna do an app that is focusing on psychological manipulation, where I'm also developed a model for that. Basically, the idea is you have an app on your phone, and you connect that to your WhatsApp, or you can actually dump WhatsApp chats in there. And if you feel like somebody's taking the better of you, then you run that through AI, and that it's gonna recognize patterns over time, right? And it's gonna tell you if somebody has bad intentions. And that's something I do on the side. So it's like a little bit for the mind, and then heart and soul. And the beauty is I noticed that I can think very well when I'm just wrenching on bikes, when I'm just, I don't know, changing oil or cleaning air filters and stuff. And it's like yoga for men, or like it's good. Like makes me very happy.
Gosh, that was very interesting. Charles, what about you? Do you see yourself following those steps? Do you see yourself doing the same?
Well, after this romantic discussion about chain lube and yoga for men, I would say that I'm having far too much fun doing what I'm doing now, working at TBO with the amazing people that I work with. You know, rising to the challenges of this new era. I'm not ready to toss it all in and start a mountain bike business. I mean, I don't like motorbikes, but I do like mountain bikes. I mean, I'm not ready to copy Andre and down in Patagonia and do all the same thing, but with mountain bikes. I'm not ready yet because I'm having far too much fun. I'm learning a lot of things. I'm working with amazing people. I'm dealing with customers who come to me because they come to me and to my team members and coworkers because we are people of reference. We are experts, advisors, mentors to our customers. We are valued. I don't feel that we have been commoditized out. I don't really see that happening anytime soon. But if it does, I will definitely think of Andre, because he is quitting while he's ahead. And quitting while you're ahead, knowing when to leave the table, is an extraordinarily difficult thing to do in life. You're going to live in Portugal, right? So Cristiano Ronaldo is playing in Saudi Arabia for the money, and he's not playing that great soccer anymore.
He didn't know when to do it. No.
Yeah, you got to know when to quit, because things can come back to haunt you. You stayed on too long, and then you bust your knees, and you can't walk when you're 55 because you took the extra money to go and play in Saudi Arabia. So metaphors aside, what I'm saying is it's not an easy choice in life. It's not easy to know when to leave the table. And okay, maybe you're like 30 and you don't want to leave the table per se. You just want to leave the table and go to a new table. That's also a very difficult choice. So I admire you, Andre, for what you're doing, even if I don't like dirt bikes at all. You won't see me on one, but I'll come for the poolside banter and the evening drinks in the forest. But I don't want to ride my mountain bike on your track. I don't want to get run over. But what I am saying is that not everybody's ready for that change yet. And personally, as I said, I'm just having too much fun doing what I'm doing. Yes, I find it challenging, very, very challenging indeed. I feel like sometimes I have to do like moonwalking, like Michael Jackson seemed to have a lot of fun doing moonwalking. But when you're a business owner and you're walking backwards to unhire people you've hired, or uncreate processes that you worked hard to create, or whatever, it's not easy. So I feel like I'm doing a bit of acrobatics in that sense, but it's still a lot of fun, and there's still amazing people. I don't know what the people are like in the dirt bike industry. Maybe they're like, oh, grubby, masculine, doing their mountain yoga. But in the language industry, it's full of amazing people. It's full of amazing stories. Everyone seems to be a storyteller of sorts in this industry, and for me, it's been my passport to the world to see, like 50 countries or whatever, in all the continents. And I'm hoping to continue for it to be that way. I don't see myself needing to be earthed to the degree that you're doing it just yet, but I don't see that as a reason why you can't earth yourself in some other way. Like if you're dealing with AI all day long, I don't know if in the evening I want to watch Netflix after dealing with AI all day long. I'd rather go out and do some gardening or ride a horse. I don't know, but I'm sure that at some point I will be where you are at. But I still feel that there's a lot to do and a lot to learn and a lot of people to meet in the industry before I go and do my mountain bikes.
I was 45, so it's like, especially this kind of stuff, you do it now, or like, it's like your bones get a bit too tight for this. But, the thing for me is like, I hope that everybody still, continues to see me as part of the language industry, because you can't really ever leave, like emotionally, it's like, I still think and breathe the whole topic. Everybody that knows me knows that, this is like deeply ingrained, and I'll do something, I'll come up with something funny. Maybe it's like having a bit, I was thinking of doing a little skit where it's like, I don't know, it's like localization talk in the workshop or something, like just like drop an opinion or like something about a topic here and there, because of course you are 100% right. I was always happy in the translation industry, and I was happy for the traveling and the amazing people. And this is the funny thing. Normally, this is not corporate talk. This is real. I mean that, it's like the amount of people where I go like, oh my God, I'm not going to see this person anymore, and this person, and how are we going to do that? So it is a bit sad, For instance, when I wasn't at Gala, that was a bit weird, seeing all those posts. And it's like, what the heck? But the thing is, like, I hope everybody still like remembers me that way and understands that to me it's like you can't really leave the industry in terms of being interested about it. Do I want to go back to a daily grind of project management and dealing with clients and sales and stuff and all that? Maybe that's where I saw the shift for me, where I saw that you thought like, you know what, I just want to change pistons now. It's just like do something else. But of course, I will not be completely. If that's okay with you guys, I don't know if you say Andre booger off and shut up, then I'll
If you
do
give
that.
us the discount code, all is forgotten.
Okay, granted. If you leave me like half a seat at the table, that would be cool. Then, yeah.
So we are going to need some minutes in the end for the surprise you have for us. So I'm gonna let some people ask their questions. Scott Jackson is raising his hand. Feel free to open your mic and ask the question yourself.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for the interesting conversation, Andre. One of the comments that you made I thought was very interesting about the fact that, you know, with this new technology, people can essentially program computers just with their own language, which is a very interesting concept. In the history of computer science or computing, over the last at least 100 years, there's been a massive multi-generational movement to bring computers closer and closer to human language, starting from very mechanical methods to tape, to punched cards, to programming languages, and then finally to keyboards and mice. And for many thousands of people that have worked in on that front, we could be seen as a blessed generation, because we're the generation that's finally interacting with computers or programming computers with our own language. So in that context, do you think that in our industry we could see this as a privilege? And if it is a privilege, how would that maybe influence the way that we work in the industry?
It is a massive privilege, because here's the thing, it's like we have a toolbox, right? We can already do things, and now we have this amazing new tool. Let's just imagine what else we can do, rather than like be mad about the things that we used to be able to sell, but we can't sell anymore, you know. But you know, LLMs are basically the dream of Star Trek becoming true, you know. It's like I don't know, like Jean-Luc Picard doesn't program a computer. He says like, computer, what is the blah, 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 you know, it's like, what underpants am I supposed to wear tomorrow? You know, it's like, you know, it's like, it's a very human interaction. And especially at the stage where we are, LLMs need a lot of explaining. And until we have understood how neural networks work, as much as we haven't understood how our own brain works, it'll need a lot of checks and double checks and edge case checks and a lot of conversation with these machines in order to get the output we require, especially since one LLM is just a copy of the other LLM. If you copy the entire weight and temperature matrix, which you can't do right now. And I don't see any other big AI companies giving you access to that. So it is beautiful, because we are basically teaming up and partnering with an incredible machine, and which makes for an incredible day and an incredible job. And we can sell trust now, even more so than we could with language before, with translation before. If you just push around words, I think the time's up. But if you understand that we are starting to use our skills for a new era, then it's super interesting. I think that's why I can't really get out of the language industry, because of course I'm going to watch what's happening and who's doing what. And I think it's super fascinating. And I don't know. My dad always used to say in German, wer nicht mit der Zeit geht, der muss mit der Zeit gehen. I don't know who understood that, but I can translate since I'm a translator. Who doesn't go with the times has to go over time. You know, it's just inevitable. So it's here, and we just need to deal with it. And it's fun, you know. Fixing problems is fun. Charles, you wouldn't have started a company and become a CEO if you didn't find enjoyment in fixing problems, right? So that's right. That's what it comes down to, you know. So I think the times are amazing, and we're blessed. Especially my generation, no phone, suddenly internet, you know, library, and then suddenly internet. And then suddenly we had machine translation, and then suddenly now we have LLMs. Like, wow, right?
Yeah.
And what else will come? I think these are amazing times, and I'm gonna think about those times when I ride my bike.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
think
you.
Ali has a quick message to share.
Okay.
Ali Franco.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for your thoughts, insights, and forecasts. I really appreciate it. I have to run to class now. I'm at MIS, Middlebury Institute of International Studies, localization, Spanish translation, but I really appreciate, you know, everything you guys have said. And yeah, so hope to, you know, hear more of your thoughts and forecasts soon, but I have to duck out. So thank you so much.
Have fun in class.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Glad I'm
Thank
out.
you.
So I've got one last question, and I
Oh, yeah.
think it's
Sorry, there was another question from Lou.
from Luke Quaino, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't have a mic, so I'm going to read it. The question is, as translators and editors, what do you think our role will be in the next 3 years? I have noticed less linguists working in translation projects.
It depends on where you work and what you do right now. You know, of course, like regulated industries will, you know, that shift will be slower. A certain company might adopt certain things quicker than others. In the next 3 years, it can very well be that nothing changes for you. If you're in another spot, a lot might change from you, for you. But the next 3 years are not really.
I think we lost Andre.
We understand that we talk more about the next 5, 7, 10 years. Where's it going, really? The next 3, I don't, you know, also clients are slow. Clients are slow to adapt change as well. But in general, it makes sense to use the technology as quickly as possible. If you train here's the thing, here's the reality. I'm not allowed, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but if I was a translator right now doing words, I would sit down at night and train a model to translate just like I do and use that to base. If you're sure that the output is perfect, nobody's going to complain. So the thing is, like, there's a lot of opportunities here, right? And then nobody would, right? If everything's perfect, nobody will say anything, right? And so the opportunities are massive, right? The tooling is amazing. The things we can do. Oh my God. So
Andre, what about if something goes wrong? Really, really, really,
That's on
really
you.
wrong. Like, let's say people call an ambulance in the United States. There's been an accident. They don't speak English. An AI avatar interpreter gets it wrong, misdiagnoses the situation, and the person in trouble dies. And you can see that being headlined on a newspaper. AI screws up,
It'll
patient
happen.
dies.
It'll happen.
Right?
It'll happen.
Whereas if a human interpreter makes a mistake, they'll say, well, human error, right? Human error. It's to be human is to err. I remember, I mean, when there was the first time a Tesla crashed while running on autopilot. It was like scandal, you know. Human
Yeah,
beings
then the guy
crash
was
cars
sleeping.
every
Yeah.
5 minutes, you know. Every 5 minutes someone crashes a car and dies. But the first time a Tesla crashed while I was on the autopilot, it was
Oh
like
my
an end of
God.
the
You
world.
know?
The
Yeah.
stock price went down, you know, because I can tolerate human error. I can't tolerate AI error.
That's regulated industries though, where I think, you know, the shift will be different. There has to be more error correction in place. At the same time, I think we will have to start accepting the fact that we will have to live with the possibility of AI error. Just we have to live without the possibility of our own errors. I find it so funny when people, you know, post something on LinkedIn when they go, oh, AI made this error here. And I just think that, you know, it's like I've worked for years as a project manager. It's like, if I would post every error every translator did, ever, all the time, you know, people will think humans are the most stupid thing on the planet. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean, right? It's like, we're so mean. We're like, man, you found the thing. But at the same time, we're super lenient towards ourselves. And that's the thing.
Yeah, you want to kick someone when they're down, you know, you want to kick the AI because it screwed up and made a mistake. So we all join in and kick the AI when it's down
I
on
knew
the floor.
it, you know, like, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like we just have to think about, and this is what we do in quality control, right? And in all the ISO standards, we're trying to make things better. And that's the question. And suddenly with AI, we have to make things perfect. Better is suddenly not good enough anymore. And I think that's a general question that we need to ask ourselves. Why was suddenly changing the game and the standards? Just because the technology is different. Is it better? Yes, it's better, but it's not perfect. So we're not doing it. You know that, I don't know. It just doesn't compute in my head. You know what I mean? What I mean, right? It's like, why? You know?
Well, we're at the end of time, Andre. Do you want us you want to show us your surprise now?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, here's the thing. I'm just gonna click the button now. I'm gonna share a document and the description is in there. And what it does, so you find out what it does. You will not really be able, try to read it out there, but I don't think you will be able to read it in the text. But you do what it says. You take the first payload, the first thing in red, drop it in ChatGPT 4.0 chat. You can try others, but I haven't tested it, so I don't know what's going to happen. If you want to know it works, then 4.0 ChatGPT. You drop the first one in, hit enter, and then you take the second red text, drop that in, press enter. And what it is basically, it's a little professor that helps you in any shape or form if you're in the translation industry and you don't know what to do and how to shift, and if you're under pressure and you feel depressed or whatever. It's specifically designed to help you out of the situation and into a lifeboat and into a better life where you can, again, put food on the table of your family. So I did that as a little gimmick. It's a toy, but it's a very powerful toy. You'll see it. If you play around with it, yeah. This is the stuff I've been doing, Charles, for them. I don't ask. It's like
when you're not fiddling with the bikes.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Awesome. If anyone else has any question, this is the time. If not, we're gonna let Andrew go keep opening more business not related to our industry.
I'm still part of
we
it.
got 2 minutes.
Magda, if you wanna, hit your question, this is the time. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was the comment. My comment was when you were talking about how people were raging Tesla autopilot, crash. This is because we expect that machine will be better than us because it's replacing us. So I replace something good with something worse. That's why we do not allow AI for errors. So it's very sad that
you think in 4 dimensions. You think in the 3 dimensions where it's like this crash happened now, and there was a human not crashing in that situation. But if you look at over time, right, 10,000 crashes versus one,
Yeah.
or like 10,000 punctuation errors versus one, that's, I think, you know, is it better? And
That's true,
better?
of course, that's
Yeah.
true. But I was just explaining why people are so upset.
Yeah, and they're finding every reason to like pick on AI. It's almost a sport now. It's like, look, AI made this map. Yeah, it made this map because of bad training data that humans fed it. You know, so it's
True that,
but
yeah.
it's funny. It's still it's something that won't go away, and I think it shouldn't because it's fascinating. At least for me.
Okay.
Cool.
Andrea, you have like 30 minutes to say something controversial if you feel like. If not, we're going to just say
30
goodbye.
minutes.
30
Yeah,
seconds.
Seconds.
no.
30 seconds.
Seconds,
30
sorry.
seconds.
Seconds, sorry. If you want to say
Uh,
something or something that we're gonna, I don't know, regret later, this is your time.
No, I don't know if it's controversial. A lot of things I think are clear. Like saying that AI will change our industry is not controversial. We all know it. Do we agree on how it will do that? No, we don't. But we know something's gonna give, right? Something's gonna change. And like I said, it's not controversial. I think it's one of the best times for the industry. But problems only await for the people that don't react to change. And but this has always been true. It's the same thing, and it's good that something shakes the boat a little bit. I love it, and I'm definitely gonna watch what's gonna happen. I'm gonna make a comment here and there. And for Charles, honestly, here's the thing: we don't disagree. If I sat in your seat right now, I'd be doing it precisely what you do. You know, and so it's like sometimes it's just a matter of situation. If you skew either in this direction or the other direction in terms of decision making, what about your life and what you're going to do. But you know, it's a great time for our industry. Just like don't put new labels on old things. You know, don't put a new label on butter. You know, go like, new, this is totally different than before. No, it's not, and we know that. You know, and also don't do anything that keeps AI from developing. Any rigid kind of system structure that came from old thinking, if we believe that we can use these methods that we have, and I'm not gonna name specifics, but I think we all know what we mean, you know, I don't know, like terminology management, knowledge graphs, blah, blah, anything rigid is not gonna work for a self-developing system. And I think we just have to adapt our thinking a little bit. Apart from that, it's going to be beautiful.
See you in Portugal, Andre.
All right. Let's ride.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thanks a lot, Andre.
Jorgelina, when is the next TBO Talent Forum?
We don't know, but we're gonna say it soon. We're gonna just hit it on LinkedIn.
Great. Probably in about a month, right?
Yeah, in about a month, for sure.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.